So you sell
Wow.
one book or you give one book away, and you've actually probably got 7 to 9 people that are going to read that. And you have no idea who they are.
Wow. I can attest to that because half the time they say I read The Ultimate Sales Machine, but I lent it out to my son or to my coworker or and I had to buy another one. That's totally true. I hear it all the time.
Becoming a master is not about doing 4,000 things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times.
The Ultimate Sales Machine presents the CEO Mastery Show for entrepreneurs looking to grow faster, better, smarter. If you would like to have a profound breakthrough in your business, talk to our team live by visiting chetholmes.com/breakthrough. Good advice is contextual. Get your answers at chetholmes.com/breakthrough.
Welcome, everybody. I am so thrilled to have one of my new closest confidants, I must say, ever since I met Julie Eason. It has been love. It's just been love at first sight, love continuing. I've told this to your husband, so he knows, and you will fall in love with her too. Today, we're going to talk about the 3 critical components that drive successful word of mouth campaigns. Julie Anne Eason has been in the marketing realm for decades now, 30 years, and not just in a copywriting standpoint, in everything from SEO to, oh my God, books massively. Maybe you've heard of Russell Brunson and Traffic Secrets, and the first one.
.com secrets and next.
Thank you. .com secrets.
I didn't do Traffic Secrets.
Oh, sorry. .com secrets. .com secrets was ghostwritten by Julie. Oh my. How to encapsulate you in such a small period of time is hard for me.
I'm just like, letting you run. Keep going.
I guess what I love about you is it's as if you take these complex, crazy things that are circling around in my brain and you make them so simple and easy to understand. And people see it with books. No wonder you gravitated towards books, the fact that you love them, but then also there's so many people that want to write books and yet it's such a long process, or they can't figure out how to get it into a book, or let's say that they spend all the time to create a book, and then on the back end, nobody really wants to read the book or is even interested in the book. So what creates a brilliant book? You have this like superhuman capability to take that and just the genius extractor, right? Or the innovation fairy, whatever we call you. It's just like you take them and you make it so simple to understand and digest. No wonder Russell's book turned into a huge empire, right? A great success story of ClickFunnels being the #1 company, fastest growing company in the United States. I think it was in 2019. That book was a crucial part of it. And what I've experienced from you assisting me with the Ultimate Sales Machine, I swear that book wouldn't be done. It still would be, I'd still be reworking the manuscript if I hadn't met you and you come into my world as such a blessing. And from then on, we've created courses and boot camps and just so many wonderful things have come from meeting you. So I'm so grateful that you hopped on with me so I can share your brilliance with our world. So thank you, Julie, for being here.
Thank you. What an amazing intro. I just need you to be my hype person for the rest of my life.
Haven't I been for the last couple?
Yeah, pretty much. I think you have been for a long time.
So part of this title of the 3 critical components of successful word of mouth. So you had gone through our boot camp after helping me craft it. You went through it. And then at the end, we do this stadium pitch challenge to see who can win. And yours was voted the most compelling based on everything that we learned through the core story. So I'm sure everybody's just waiting going, Julie, I want to understand word of mouth. Nobody's talking about word of mouth really, and how to make a captivating word of mouth. Can we dive into that?
Absolutely. So first of all, why do you want word of mouth? Like, who cares, right? Like, I always start with the end in mind. I always start with the goal. Like, why do we care about word of mouth before we start building something like a campaign or anything, right? So, and I didn't know this stuff until I went through the Core Story Bootcamp. Like, I had no idea, because I had never, I've researched before, obviously, for books and for sales letters and things, but I'd never actually like focused on market data and actually understood the power of it until like I helped you craft it and then we went through it. And I feel like I've been through it so many times now that it's like, oh, I totally understand the importance of market data and how well it works. But the stuff that I found, because where do we start with core stories of any kind, right? We start with global pain, who's your audience, and what are they worried about? Well, all of the people in the marketing world and in the business world in general are just desperate for qualified leads. That's their biggest number one pain, is they want qualified leads, right? Cool. So how do you get qualified leads? Well, there's like paid traffic, and there's organic traffic, and there's media, and there's a few things. So I just started digging into things and looking into the market data. Like, you give us time during the boot camp to do that, which is amazing. I found out that word of mouth customers pay 200% more than any other kind of customer acquired any other way. Like, that alone was enough reason for me to go, all right, word of mouth is like the bomb, because that's an amazing statistic that, you know, you can get someone in from an ad, and you can get somebody in where they just had a friend recommend you. That person's going to spend more money. So,
right. I mean, with ads, aren't we like excited if we get like 2 times the ROI from an ad?
Yeah, so that's more market data. I'm going to look down because I want to make sure I don't get it wrong, because I'm like a stickler for that stuff. But like, 67% of marketing executives agree that word of mouth marketing is the best way to advertise. The best. Wow. 6% say they mastered it. 6. Like, that's the way to do it, but we don't know how, because what are they doing? Like, they're trying to figure out the tactics, and it's not about tactics. It's about strategy, and it's about simplifying things. And so I kept digging, right? I kept digging for more market data. Why do we care about this stuff? Well, we got paid ads, right? What's the problem with paid ads? 69% of consumers don't trust any kind of advertising. 60% of ads are blocked with ad blockers, so they're not even seeing them. Wow. And then, like, it was just killing me. Like, organic reach on Facebook, for example, if you just want to do organic traffic, fell from 12% to 2.8%.
Jeez.
So nobody's like it. You're doing all this work to put out the best ads and put out the most content, and you're trying to just push and push. And what is that doing? It's making noise, right? We have so much noise. And so when you're working in the book world, one of the things I love to say is that, you know, you're pulling people away from the noise, and you're getting them to be in a quiet place. Hopefully it's just you and them. Like, I say it's 100% engagement, right? Everybody wants engagement. Well, when it's a book, it's you and them, and that's it. And they're engaged as long as you don't bore them. And as long as you're entertaining, you're making things fun for them to read. And you're also making like important points that are going to help them. I mean, I'm in the nonfiction world. I'm not writing science fiction. I'm writing business books, right? So I'm teaching them something. So the word of mouth is huge, because and this is where I connected everything, right? I like to bridge things. I can take ideas and I bridge them together to make something that's never been made before. And the connection I made was, I know that in the book world, books are passed around 9 times before they die. So you sell one book, or you give one book away, and you've actually probably got 7 to 9 people that are going to read that, and you have no idea who they are.
Wow. I can attest to that, because half the time they say, I read The Ultimate Sales Machine, but I lent it out to my son or to my coworker or and I had to buy another one. That's totally true. I hear it all the time.
I had a lady that I knew. I wasn't really good friends with her or anything, but she wrote a book. She was an accountant somewhere in Texas. I think it was Dallas or something. And she wrote a little book specifically for women to help them with their finances. And she had a little ad in the back for her own business. This was a long time ago. I don't know if she still does it, but she literally would leave those books in airplane pockets in the seat, just leave them there. And she got more business from people just going, I found this book and I don't even know where I found it, but your name was in the back, and it was such good information, I had to call you. So I knew that books are just a way that word of mouth, it just naturally follows on. One of the most recommended things on the planet is books. Right? If you read a really good book, I don't care what genre it's in, or if it's fiction or nonfiction, you're going to tell all your friends about it.
But there is something, so one thing is books, but then also you are so brilliant. I worked with you on the book, and then I worked with you again in our boot camps, and then I've worked with you again on the core story side, because there's something about how you understand the human psyche, like the human brain and how it operates. Are there some clarities of these are the three, do you have
the three
steps?
I'm getting
What are
there.
the three
I'm getting
components of, okay.
What is it? We want to know.
I do want to know.
So the three components people look for, like the right ads, or what's the right copy, or what's the magic words and all this thing.
Yeah.
Well, you need three things. Whatever it is that you're talking about, it needs to be easy. It needs to be easy to understand. If they don't understand it, you're dead in the water. It needs to be easy to remember, because if you want them to pass it along, they have to be able to remember it and keep it front of mind. And it needs to be easy to pass along, meaning there needs to be some kind of a vehicle. Used to be that you had business cards and you could put something memorable on the back of it. Now we have books that people are basically using like business cards. It might be a link that people can pass along, a link that's easy to remember, making pretty links that are, your website / apply, if you're sending them to an application funnel, rather than some crazy long URL that we can't remember. It has to be memorable and easy to pass along. And those are the three things that are going to drive that word of mouth. So it has to be simple. Whatever it is that you're talking about has to have frameworks and stories and things that help trigger people's memories, so that they're like, oh yeah, I was just learning about this particular problem over here, and you should go check out that person's business.
Right. I love that. Casey Brown, I see in the audience. She gave us little hearts. Have to say hello. She helped me out the other day. She was absolutely wonderful. I'm so grateful. Okay. So when you're saying this, I'm like relaying back to the times that I've worked with you, and I've been like, yes, obviously, but I do find it fascinating. So when I think of my father's methodology, he taught the buyer's pyramid, the 3% that are interested now, and people remember that pyramid, and it's so simple and yet so profound. And then when I started working with you, right, how do we adjust the ultimate sales machine, right? But you brought up to me, which I find fascinating, is the whole concept that 15 years ago, when my father put out the book, there was so much information, right? Can you share a bit about that? Because this has been a reoccurring theme that we've been working together on. Do you know where I'm going?
We're pretty much regenerating your entire company, really, because the focus used to be in the 80s and the 70s, and even way back, the internet wasn't here. We didn't have access to all the information, right? We did not have all the things that we have today. And so if a business person was going to sell something like, say, a core story, or a speaking, a conference or something, they wanted to appear like they had, and hopefully they did have all the answers, right? They wanted to be the one that had all the information that you needed to succeed. That's how gurus are built. That's how, experts are built, is by having all the information. Well, now we have every piece of information that ever needs to be known is on the internet. We can all find all of this information. It is not necessarily hard. What's hard is understanding what to do with all that information. What's hard is knowing what the context is. What's hard is knowing why we should even care. And what's really hard is getting people to pay attention long enough that you can relay that to them. Like newsletters in the old days, email newsletters and even print newsletters were all about how much information can I pack into it. Now we have curated newsletters, and this is, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Copy Blogger was the first place I heard this, where email newsletters are now more valuable if they are curations. And like, you're the one who's giving the context of all the information. You're the one who's picking and choosing in your niche what's the best news articles, the best blogs, the best YouTube videos, all the things that people need to know in that niche. What are they? So I have a publishing newsletter that comes to me, and every week it's a collection of the most important things I need to know during the week. Now, did that company write those things? No, they went out and found them. They're the curators. They're making it easier for me to be better at my job. And so it's just the information thing has flipped. It used
Yes.
to be you were smart and you could charge high prices if you knew all the information. Now you charge higher prices if you can contextualize the information and make it super simple for people to get it. They need to understand it.
Yep. And I've experienced that, right, with Core Story. This is a great example. So my father helped 60 of the Fortune 500 build out Core Stories, right? And it was all about the most information possible. So everyone got educated on all of these. If you showed them that much information, like let's say 150 slide PowerPoint deck, you're like, wow, that person knows a lot. Today, we have so much information. It's so hard. So you have been a part of this process to go, okay, how do we simplify? So now people don't want 150 PowerPoint deck. They want 15 slides that are the most powerful, succinct, on task, on point, get me to where I need to go, and bam, they're ready to buy. And I found this really fascinating because also I see this theme also with my father having 12 core competencies to double sales. Every chapter is another way to double sales. And I'm focusing in on, okay, Core Story is one thing that we do unlike anyone else. Let's talk about messaging because that's timeless across any medium, right? And then also Dream 100. And we've just kind of narrowed in and got hyper focused because there's so much noise out there. So, and that's been because of you. You've helped me navigate this contextualization of what people, how people are taking in information and how are they retaining it. And that has gone beyond just the book, which we did in the book, and I can't wait for people to see it in August.
Wait for people to see
And by the way, it wouldn't have gone out if it weren't for Julie understanding the 5 author freakouts, because I experienced every single one of them. And Julie is coming out with a book, the 5 author freakouts. So if you've ever thought about writing a book, you should definitely read her book because it's obvious that we go through several. I'm still going through the author freakout.
I think you're still in 4. You're almost to 5. You're almost through. People are so brilliant. People that I work with, my clients, like people like you you're so good at what you do. You're so brilliant, but you get stuck inside of all your genius. I mean, it's so easy. We all get overwhelmed by everything these days because, I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of pieces of information just bombarding us all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard enough to shut out the external, but when our own internal thoughts, when we know so much and we want to share so much and we want to give so much and we want to help people so much, we just want to say everything. Like we want to give them everything. And the problem and the reason that people get freaked out and the reason that they go through writer's block or any kind of block, whether you're writing a funnel or a webinar or a book or whatever it is, it doesn't matter, is that you get a log jam in your brain. It's not that you don't know enough or you don't know what to say or you don't know the right thing to say. It's that you know too much to say and it all wants to come out at once because you care and you really want people to get this. And the problem is that if you don't like have a really strong filter between your brain and your fingers, you know, or your brain and your mouth to where you're only saying things in the way that people need to receive them.
Right. Like frameworks. Can you explain a framework and give an example? Because it's so, this has been a crucial thing I've been learning from you, studying from you.
Well, you're already talking in frameworks. Your dad was brilliant at frameworks. The buyer's pyramid, right? We started with the buyer's pyramid where you have 3% of the people actually care what you're talking about, right? So what did we do when we started going through the book and then we went through the Core Story Bootcamp? We took that buyer's pyramid and we flipped it upside down to make the funnel, right? To make the global pain is where we're going to capture the most number of people, and the targeted pain is where we're going to narrow it down and really start talking to people, and then the solutions and the
setting the buying
buyer's guide. I'm getting there. Setting the buyer's criteria.
They don't know about it. So
all of that. So there's a framework that you go through, and because of the fact that it is a visual aid, we can see it and we know what the steps are. See, I was able to remember that the framework for course, that's a lot of information to remember, like global pain, targeted pain, solutions, buyer's guides, call to action. Like that's a lot to remember and to know what it means. But because it's in a framework and because you keep showing that framework and we have that visual and we know what it is and we know what everything means because we have context, I can remember it and I can tell other people about it.
See, this is a crucial part for CEOs as well, right? Like they understand they're brilliant, but then when they try to discern why they are brilliant at what they do to a head of marketing or to their sales team, they flounder because they lack the structure to explain what usually is very obvious to them, right?
Yeah. And the more obvious, the harder it is, I think, because like, well, I get this. Why doesn't everybody else get it? Or I get it. And it's really important that they understand all these things, these 17 things. Well, people can't listen to 17 things all at once. They have to have progressions. That's a framework. A step-by-step is a framework. Another framework that we use is pillars. So like if you have 4 core pillars, or if you have, I like to use anything that's visual, like you have the little quadrant graphs. Those are frameworks. When I'm talking to nonfiction writers with businesses, I'm like, you can make anything into a framework. You can make geography into a framework. If you're writing I like to say, if you have a bicycle shop, right, and you want to write a book, how's a book going to help you sell bicycles? Well, if that book is geographically located to the northeast of the United States, like the top 50 bike rides in New England, right? People are going to be excited about that. Maybe that's a blog post, maybe it's a book, whatever it is, but people are going to be excited about that. And then you are the source of that information. And so CEOs, God bless you guys. And me at us, like I think it really needs an outside perspective. I think that people get just stuck in their own heads. When they come to me, they're like, I know I need to write a book, but I don't know what to say, or I've written a manuscript and I don't think it's any good, or I really want, and I don't know what to sell after the book. So that's the other crime in my world, is when you write a book and it's really great and then you don't lead them anywhere.
Yeah.
So I have a framework called Inspire, Educate, Sell, right? This is my 3 pillars of what I do. Everything in my world is designed to inspire people to believe that they can do whatever it is that you want them to do. I write specifically so that they believe that they can do it. So inspire, then I educate them how to do it. Because if they don't know how, they're going to go somewhere else, right? And then I sell education, resources, and support so they actually do. Don't inspire, educate, and sell in a book or in a webinar or in a landing page, anything. They're either going to be like, oh yes, I really want to do this and I have no idea how, so I'm going to go to a competitor and figure it out. Or they're going to go, I really want to do this. I believe I can do this. I know how to do this. And this person hasn't given me anything else to buy. So Inspire, Educate, Sell is a framework that I use, and people go, oh yeah, like, of course we need that. That's what when you know you have a really good framework, is when people go, well, of course, that's obvious. Duh.
I love that you say that, because it's not obvious.
It's not obvious
at all. But when you get there and they're like, well, duh. Like, so you gave me a framework for the boot camps, right? So every boot camp, it's a framework of learn it, build it, use it.
Right.
At the beginning, we teach something, and then you build the actual marketing or sales asset on the call. And then we use it to implement into sales and marketing so that you sell immediately. And because of your ability to understand frameworks and meshed through what I know about Core Story, we actually had, I'm going to show another piece of market data that proves that our framework and your framework methodology works. So if people go through a course, an average amount of people, 4% actually finish a course. That's like,
it's pitiful. It's like nobody finishes courses.
Terrible. And then that's just finishing course. That's not mentioning like the actual results of the course, right? So we did a survey of all the people that went through the Core Story Bootcamp. 42% of them generated leads within the first 30 days. That's 10x, right? Yep. Because of what, I mean, I wouldn't have done that without you. Hands down.
Yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't have happened.
Credit for that. I just think that what's brilliant about the bootcamp methodology is that it's different than a course, because 100% of those people who took that survey finished the course.
Yep.
You have 100% completion rate, whereas most courses it's 4%. And the reason why is because you're working with high level individuals, high achievers, people who are wanting to do things. So they're motivated because they know that they're going to get some incredible results out of this. And also they know that they're not going to learn something and then have to carve out time later to do it.
Yeah.
Because the boot camp is all about do it in class as much as possible. Do your homework in class so you don't have to do it later. Because none of us have time. If we're carving out, what was it, 2 hours a week
Yep.
to learn the stuff, but that's great. But if we can learn it and implement it and see results before the next class,
Yep.
that's crazy. It's amazing. And we took that same methodology and I've used it with Pablo's boot camp.
Yeah.
Relationship flywheel. And like, it's the same kind of results where people are they're building it and they're going and they're going and they're going. And it's so much better than courses. So much better.
That's why, I mean, I'm so grateful for you that you've been a part of this whole process. So not only so I was writing the book, right? And you were just guiding me all the way. You just gave me the structure. I looked at chapter 7 and went, all my dad is talking about is radio and television and billboards. Like, what am I going to do with this chapter? Like, the internet, websites is 2 words in his book. Like, how do I turn it into what happened over these last 15 years? And you're like, oh, it's very simple, right? Every 7 months of marketing is a subchapter. And this is how you follow it. You start with a concept, you give an example, and then you follow up with saying what you said. And then let's do a checklist. I'm like, oh, duh, right? The duh happens, but it's not duh. It's like Julie being brilliant and understanding it. And then I recognize that is something that isn't just book worthy. Like, it's also then all of your systems behind that. So that's why I keep bringing you with me, going like, let's be a part of this. Because I also think 90% of businesses do not sell. And yet 68% of business owners want to sell their business. And you know what I think is because they can't get what's in their head out of their head into an organization. It's a rare breed that they can create what we call the 3 Ps: policies, procedures, and planning, because they're so, stuck in their minds of their own genius. They can't get out of their own way to distill what they're thinking in a very organized framework fashion. So it's not only just for your prospects to understand your frameworks, it's also internally amongst your staff. So and
anybody who's ever going to buy your business, like they have to, you have to be able to succinctly, clearly, easily make some buyer understand why your business is worth anything. Why is your business valuable? How, and so like, writing anything that is going out to an investor or to somebody who's going to buy your company, that is a whole different way of communicating than communicating with your team or communicating with your prospects. But you want to use similar frameworks and similar languaging so that it becomes part of your culture, and it becomes like Core Story. Now you're never going to not use those frameworks. You're going to have those frameworks forever. And whenever anybody comes in, they're going to, oh my gosh, I learned it from the book. I learned it from a boot camp. Somebody else told me about this, this use it or learn it, use it, build it, learn it, build it, use it thing. And I got to know what that is. Like, your courses have incredible completion rates. How does that happen? You're always going to have that. And you're going to be able to use that if you ever decide that you wanted to sell the company. But if you're not able to communicate in frameworks to somebody who wants to buy a company, the same way that you communicate in frameworks to get anything done. I mean, people just using, depending on how many layers, like speaking to your sales team, you've got to use frameworks so they understand and remember. Our brains are only designed to hold a certain amount of information in the front of their brains. Like, we can only remember so many things, right? And so if you have sales scripts or you have 27 steps to the sale or whatever, and it's just so complicated, you're not going to get the results that you want, no matter how much money you spend on those sales scripts, no matter how impressive they are.
Yeah.
If it's not something that is making sense to the person on the other end, if they're confused at all, they're not buying.
Yep.
They're just not going to. So like, and it's getting more and more to the point where the simplest message wins. Like, especially if you're in a crowded market, why would I pick you over somebody else if I completely don't get what you do? I'm only going to go to the one that I understand, because it makes me feel smart. We all like to feel smart. We get dopamine rushes when that happens. When we understand, we feel good. We feel a part of it. We feel smart. Whereas in the old days when we wanted to inundate people with information because that made us look smart.
Right.
And they didn't have access to that information. Now everybody is equal. The playing field is equal. We all have the same access.
And then also for everyone listening too. So my father used to always say, give your best stuff for free, which was a hard concept to believe. He picked chapter 4. He said, this is the best chapter in this whole book. He gave that one for free. People want to covet their information because other people will find out. Well, if nobody finds out, nobody will find out, right?
Nobody's going to buy it. They don't find out.
So what you're saying is brilliant. What is your brilliance? Figure out how to describe it in a way that's a framework, and then start training prospects, staff, internal staff, right? Your own self to repeat that framework over and over again. People know the Dream 100 because my father explained it on stages for 3 decades, right? And then people kept adopting it.
Talked about on stages still. So yeah, it's Dream 100. And plus it's a really great name. It's super memorable. It's super easy to pass along. It's just,
there's a story.
And there's a story behind it. Exactly.
Wow. This has been so good. So if people want to find Julie, I will have to put it on the screen, Luis. It's Julie Anne with an E, A-N-E, Eason. There's another E, EASON.com, because Julie's just absolutely brilliant. You can find her on LinkedIn as well. I know you're coming out with a podcast as well.
Yes.
People can tune into.
Meeting. Yeah, that's going to be all writing. So for people who are listening to this, who maybe are copywriters or ghostwriters, or who want to write fiction or want to write a book for any reason. Actually, if you're probably a business person listening to this, because that's who Amanda loves to talk to. On julieanneeason.com, you'll find my other book, The Profitable Business Author, which you can grab a hold of. And that goes through all the steps of how to write a book, how to publish it, and how to create back-end products that actually generate cash, because most books don't make a lot of money, but they
miss that connection.
Piece. Yep.
And I'm seeing Pablo saying 2 of my favorites. Pablo Gonzalez in the house, and Jonathan Dawson, who's another. He said, I love talking about practicing the Dream 100 strategy. He's brilliant at it, but he's also brilliant at creating frameworks. He was actually our podcast 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Psychology. Yeah. His whole methodology around selling and then using social to sell his sell. Oh, that's how we met. I went to Pinnacle, his event, and then they introduced me, right? That whole stream of random people that led me to you.
So there were like 3 or 4 people that passed along, and like, that's again, being memorable, right? It's word of mouth. We never would have met if it weren't for people saying, oh, you should talk to, you're having trouble with your book. Oh my God, you need to talk to Julie. That never would have happened if it weren't for people passing things along through word of mouth.
Jonathan saying that's awesome. It is awesome. Jonathan, because of your event, I finished my book with Julie. We created these boot camps because of Julie. We're completely reimagining Core Story because of Julie. Like, she's been a whole part, and it came through word of mouth, and it came through Pinnacle Society. So, wow, full circle. That's so wonderful. Oh man, I hate to say any last nugget, but is there anything that you feel that we missed out on that people just need to know, business owners need to know?
I think one of the brilliant things that you do all the time is you test out the messaging to see if you get that spark of recognition. You are constantly on Instagram going, well, so there's this thing and la, 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 and you'll just test it. And I know you're testing it. Maybe nobody else knows it, but you're just trying to see if people resonate with it, or if they understand it, or if you get what? And people are just like, I don't understand what that last post was about. So you're constantly in the mode of, will people get this? Those 3 critical components, just like you said, easy to understand, easy to remember, easy to pass along. If they get it and they go, well, duh, that makes total sense, of course, then you have a home run.
I love that you just said that too, because I mean, you can spend $200,000 on a focus group, or you could go to your Instagram or your Facebook and ask for a poll for free. all the time. And they love giving you feedback. I'm like, how is this possible that I have this tool that I can test all the time? I love that you just said
Can you
that.
imagine what your dad would have done?
Oh my
The tools we
God.
have now. It blows my mind. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I hope that we're doing him some justice, which I'm pretty sure from the results that we're getting that we are. So Pablo's saying, yes, social media, agile feedback loop. Yeah. Pablo is amazing at this. So on the first week of the Core Story Bootcamp, he had a click where he realized how he could explain his service better, which I could go deep into that, but he did a LinkedIn post, and the next week he had 55 people raising their hands saying that they wanted to work with him, which was like the highest converting post he'd ever had on LinkedIn, and he posts a lot. So it's such a great story. Be the stage.live.
Yeah.
And Jonathan saying being memorable, being worth endorsing. Some people are memorable for all the wrong reasons.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. And that goes with how you're communicating and your books as well. Like, here's the thing. This is why I started doing what I do, is because there were all of these gurus out there that were saying, you need to use your book as a business card, and you can write a book in a weekend, and here's some templates, and the most god awful books were being written. I have people come to me, and I hate saying that because I love books and I love authors, but I have people come to me and they're like, yeah, I wrote a book, but I don't ever show it to anybody. I want to write another one. Like, they're embarrassed by their own work because they were told that it's so easy and it's so fast, and it can be easy and fast, and it can be a joy, but you're going to hit those freakouts, and you're going to have places where you question yourself, and you're going to get stuck. And that's what I do. I just sort of pull the spaghetti brain and to make it into a nice combed out something that makes sense.
Awesome. Oh, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Julie. Go follow her. Is it Julie Anne Eason on LinkedIn too?
On LinkedIn it is, yeah. The reason behind that is because way back when I first started writing, there was a Julie Eason who was a pretty well-known journalist. And I was like, oh, I have to have my own name, and I have to have a URL and all these things. We didn't even say URL then. We said I have to have a website address, a World Wide Web address.
Yeah. Website, 2 words.
So I had to get Julie Anne Eason, and now I know better. Now I'm like, oh, there's too many E's in there. But that's okay. People find me anyway.
It's okay. They find me on Instagram, even though I'm a Mandita Holmes. So find me through my salsa name. Well, such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Everybody check out Julie. She is unbelievably amazing. And if you happen to go into Core Story World with us, you might even get the chance to work with her. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Subscribe for more videos. Claim your free Chapter 4 of The Ultimate Sales Machine. This chapter helps you get 9 times more impact from every move you make. Visit ultimatesalesmachine.com. This has been the CEO Mastery Podcast, brought to you by The Ultimate Sales Machine.